it's definitely a very complex relationship. The basis for the normalization was that because we have a disputed border, the entirety of the border, which is almost 3,500 kilometers, is disputed. What happened in 2020 was that in violation of multiple agreements, the Chinese actually moved a very large number of troops to the line of actual control. The issue for us is, why they have disturbed that peace and tranquility, why they moved those troops. I would say roughly, you can say about 75% of the disengagement problems are sorted out. Trade has got affected and the exchanges have got affected. So it is not normal, I mean, to put it very politely. Any radical shift or change or presence in the Indian Ocean is something we will take into our security calculus.
Of course, one key question is about the relationship between India and China. We have seen difficult moments in the Himalaya on the border. We see a kind of competition in the Indian Ocean. How would you describe the relationship between China and India?
I'll need a lot of adjectives. I mean, it's definitely a very complex relationship because if you look at it, these are two civilizational states. They have a long history. They are also states who at various points of time in history were very big in the global economy, in the global society. They had bad periods in their history. Both of them are reviving, are rejuvenating in a way. And also as civilizational societies, they are, their borders, their identity, their interests, these are getting more sharply defined, which happens in a more modern age. And they are the only two countries which have a population of more than 1 billion. And what happens normally when any country rises is it has ripple impact on the neighborhood. Now these two countries also have the singular honor of being each other's neighbors. So each one's rise has a ripple impact. They have a common neighborhood as well, and they are neighbors to each other. So if you look at all these factors, and they have different political systems, they have different economic systems. So if you take the totality of this, you can understand why I selected a safe but expressive word like complex. We had, we've not had an easy relationship in the past. It began reasonably well in the late 40s. There were frictions in the 50s. There was a war in 1962. Then there was a period really from the late 50s till for about 15 years we didn't have an ambassador. We sent back an ambassador in 76. But it was only in the late 80s that really the relationship, you can say, normalized. Now the basis for the normalization was that because we have a disputed border, the entirety of the border, which is almost 3,500 kilometers, is disputed and is being negotiated. So the basis, obviously, for a good relationship, or I would say even a normal relationship, was that there would be peace and tranquility in the border. So after things began to take a better turn in '88, we had a series of agreements which stabilized the border. Then trade began, more contacts, politicians, generals, tourists, all what normally neighbors do. Now what happened in 2020 was that in violation of multiple agreements, for some reason which is still not entirely clear to us, we can speculate on it, the Chinese actually moved a very large number of troops to the line of actual control. at the border. And naturally, in response, we moved our troops up. It was very difficult for us because we were in the middle of a COVID lockdown at that time. They had come out of COVID, that first round of COVID. Now, we could see straight away that this was a very dangerous development because the presence of large number of troops in those extreme heights and extreme cold in near proximity could lead to a mishap. And that's exactly what happened in June of 2020. So the issue for us is, why they have disturbed that peace and tranquility, why they moved those troops, and how do you now deal with this very close-up situation? So we've been negotiating now for close to 4 years, and the first step of that is what we call disengagement, which is that their troops go back to their normal operating bases and our troops go back to our normal operating bases, and where required we have an arrangement about patrolling, because both of us patrol regularly in that border, because as I said, it's not a legally delineated border. Those negotiations are going on. We made some progress. I would say roughly, you can say about 75% of the disengagement problems are sorted out. We still have some things to do. But there's a bigger issue that, if both of us have brought forces close up, and in that sense, there's the level of militarization of the border has increased. How does one deal with it? I think we have to deal with it. But in the meanwhile, after the clash, it has affected actually the entirety of the relationship, because you can't have, violence on the border and then say the rest of the relationship is insulated from it. So trade has got affected, and the exchanges have got affected. So it is not normal, to put it very politely. We hope that if there is a solution to the disengagement and there is a return to peace and tranquility, then we can look at other possibilities. So that is the immediate issue. But I think there are larger issues in respect of India-China. We have long struggled with the trade issue. I've been ambassador in China, so I can tell you from my time there that we are talking, 15 years ago, that we feel that the economic relationship with China has been very unfair. It has been very imbalanced. That we don't have the market access there. They have much better market access in India. We have concerns today. Again, this is autonomous of the border situation in various areas, technology, in telecom, in digital, and those are issues. And now, as you've said, we also do monitor very carefully what happens in the Indian Ocean. So for us, any radical shift or change or presence in the Indian Ocean is something we will take into our security calculus.